readers, now we move on to our next talk. We are very happy to welcome Vidwan Shri K. Giridhara Sharma ji, who is joining us from Chennai. He will be speaking on the topic Insights from Panchadashi of Swammi Vidyaranya. Just a brief introduction. Vidwan Giridhar Sharma ji is an electronics engineer by profession with over 30 years of experience in that field. In parallel, he was blessed by the great scholar Brahmashri Goda Venkateshwara Shastrigal, who took Giridhar Sharma under his tutelage. He studied basics of Tarka with specialization in Mimamsa and Vedanta, including Prasthanatraya Bhashya and other important texts in both Mimamsa Shastras. From 2018, Giridhar Sharma ji has been studying advanced texts of Mimamsa under Dr. K. Devanathacharya ji and Vedanta under Mahamahopadhyaya Brahmashri Dr. Mani Dravid Shastrigal and Vyakaranam under Dr. Dattatreya Murthy ji. Giridhar Sharma ji regularly takes part in Vidvat Sadas and workshops and also conducts private classes in Mimamsa and Vedanta for students. Once again, thank you for making time, Giridhar ji. Please go ahead and start the session.
Shri Guru Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Panchadashi is a collection of 15 prakaranas. By now you all know what is a prakarana. And in the previous lecture, it was very structured and very illuminating. And I had the fortune to join that. And I want to touch few points from that as a continuation of this. As he mentioned, Upadesha Sahasri is more, can also be seen as a guide for the teachers. I would see Panchadashi also in the same light. This is more like a teacher's manual. And also it helps the serious aspirants. And thirdly, this text also helps someone who is just curious about Vedanta. You don't have to be a serious seeker. Even if you're just curious, what is all this about? Rather than spending a lot of time in intricate texts like Bhashyam and other things, if you just browse through, because if you take other prakaranas, they touch few aspects of it. Shastraika Desha Sambandham is what we talk about prakarana. But Panchadashi on a whole, when you take all the 15 prakaranas together, you get to see almost all the important aspects of Advaita Vedanta. So that is for someone who is like a cat on the wall, just very curious about, okay, what is all this? First thing is, I'll start from that perspective. Say, when you talk about Advaita Vedanta, the first impediment, I would say, is our current experience, which is totally opposite of what the scriptures claim. And how do you reconcile that? And should we even reconcile that? Because the scriptures say this is Brahma Satyam Jagan Nitya. So if it is all these are illusionary, if it's only illusion, how do we even reconcile to that fact that this is where all our efforts are going, etc. So this is what we would have, we would start as a first impediment. Now, when that happens, how do we resolve that and convince that this is a systematic philosophy where you go from stage by stage and get into a method where you can realize the ultimate. So coming to this Panchadashi, you have, as the name suggests, there are 15 chapters. And I'm not dwelling anything on the authorship and all that. Generally, it is seen as Vidyaranya's, but then 2 authors have written it, and it is compiled by a later or somebody later, and all those things are there. We don't have time to dwell into those academic points. But the structure of Panchadashi is very beautiful. And this is this 15, they are classified into 3 sets of 5 chapters. I would call it as chapters or independent books, as you name. Why I say both is the 15 sections can be seen as 15 chapters because they have a continuity, they have a gradation. From Tattva Viveka Prakaranam all the way to Vishayananda Prakaranam, there is a gradation. So you can see the whole of them as one unit, a single book. Also, you can see each of them as a self-containing entity. You just take one of this and then dwell on this, and you to uh, get all the tools that is necessary for your inquiry. That is your vichar, what is called as manana, which we heard about what it is earlier. So this is a set of 15 books which are independent and also interdependent, which is a very, very interesting concept. And you have to spend time on the text to do this under a competent teacher. So I'll just quickly go through. I was thinking probably I should give a brief introduction of each of these sections, but 2 into 15, 30 minutes, my time will be over. So I will not be doing any justice just by talking about each of this like a reading out an index. So what I will try to do is what is the essence of or what is the import of each of this is what I'm planning to explain to you now. When I say they are classified into 3 sections, one is Tattva, one is the first 5 carries the name as Viveka. It is called Viveka Panchakam. The second is Deepa Panchakam. When I read out the name, you will understand. The third one is Ananda Panchakam. So what is this Viveka Panchakam do is, in the set of 5 books, there are different, Viveka, you know, is discrimination or segregation, classification, as you may have it. So what is the first confusion which I mentioned? There is one ultimate reality, and then everything else is Mayikam or Maya, illusion. It's a very superficial portrayal of Advaita Vedanta, which is not, which does not convey anything. But that is where we start with when we listen to it. So what happens, what is the confusion is, where is that ultimate reality? I don't see it. I mean, what you call as, I don't, if you say you are that, okay, Tattvamasi, you are that, I don't really have that feeling that I am that. I have a feeling that I am so and so, I am born here, and this is what I have to do. And right? So that is our normal experience. So how do I reconcile that? There, that is where this Vivekam comes in. This 5 chapters explain. The first one is Tattva Vivekam. It says, what is Tattvam? Tattvam is Tatyam Sattvam. Sat, the essence, the truth, that is Tattvam. So how is that confused with our experience, which is ephemeral, which is inconsistent? So how is that confused? And if these two, that is Maya, the Avidya and Atman, they are not supposed to mingle, because Atman is Asango He Purushaha. It is not supposed to be, it is one, it is not supposed to join with anything else. And Maya is supposed to not even exist. But you say that the collusion of these two is what gives out this universe is a little bit contradictory. So what exactly is this, the relationship between Maya and this Atman? That Tattvam, you segregate that. So that is the first step, Tattva Vivekam. Then as you do that, what is the Tattvam? But you also have to explain how this universe came about. And that is this Panchabhuta, Panchamahabhuta. And I use the words, I'm not using most of the English words because I'm not very comfortable with the quality of the translation. I use as, because most of you would know what it is. This Panchamahabhuta is Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and Prithvi. These 5 elements are there. And what came out of it? That is Bhautikam. So this Bhuta Srishti and Bhautika Srishti. And how does that come about from the Atman, from the Supreme Reality? That is explained in the second one. Fine. But finally, where is this leading to? It is me as an aspirant have to see how do I realize the Supreme. But where am I now? I am supposed to be according to this. Scriptures imprisoned in this Panchakosha, this body. So this it is more like a hypothetical construct, and as you practice, you will be testing the hypothesis, and you understand what these five sheets, five koshas are, and then you come out of it. So this Pancha Kosha Vivekam comes the next. So this is about, so far we have come from the supreme reality to this Bhuta, Bhautika, and then Jiva Sharira. So now I know who is Ishvara, or I would say what is the supreme reality, and how am I related to that at the current stage, not the ultimate. Current as a Jiva, how am I related to that, and where am I mean, in what kind of prison I am in. That is there. Then comes this Dvaita Viveka Prakarana. This is a very interesting concept. What I have to tell about Vidyaranya is in this book, he comes out with several examples and several even theoretical concepts which were not available in the earlier books. This is more like a pioneering effort. And what he says is the whole Adhyaropa Apavada, this is very famous, Adhyaropa Apavadabhyam Nishprapancham Prapanchate. So when for us to understand the conflict and move beyond the conflict and understand the reality, whatever examples that is needed, whatever the theoretical concepts that are needed can be constructed. And he also shows the Shruti basis for all this. So even though we have not seen such examples, such constructs in other books, it is not like he has just built it up on his own. He comes out with an example or a construct or a hypothetical construct, and he also bases that on any of the Upanishad Vakyam. So what I am saying is, in this Dvaita Viveka Prakarana of the Srishti, that is the creation, he divides creation into two. One is the Ishvara Srishti, the other one is Jiva Srishti. What he says is, what is created by Ishvara, that is not bandhakam, that doesn't cause us any trouble. But what is created by us is what is creating the trouble. For example, Ishvara created this world. But there, the likes and dislikes, this is mine, this is not mine, I want this, I don't want this, all that mental construct is our creation. And that is what is creating trouble. As it is, the universe doesn't come and hurt us. It hurts us when what hurts us is the result of our action that is driven by our desires, our hatred, our wants, our needs, and our inadequacy. That's what makes us do the action and for which we get the result. So he segregates, there are a lot of good examples there, and he segregates the universe into two, and we should be focusing on eliminating or minimizing the Jiva Srishti, and that is where the sadhana should go. Then finally, it's a very short prakarana, just 8 verses. He explains in this all the Mahavakya, Prajnanam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Ayamatma Brahma. So in a very simple way, and which you don't even get in Upanishad and Bhashya. Whatever is there is put in very crux. So just a repetitive anusandhanam of this itself gives a lot of solace. So, and the whole process, what happened is, he starts with this creation and he starts how it is related to us. He also talks about the universe and the reality of the universe, etc. By doing all this, by segregating what is true and what is not true, you understand the cause of the universe, that is the Tat. In Tattvamasi, the supreme reality. The next 5 is going to talk about Tvam, and the last 5 is going to talk about Asi, Tattvamasi. That is how this, I say, is an interrelated book, but each of them by itself gives us enough food for thought, for contemplation, to understand the reality. Next comes this, the two very important, I would say the crux of Panchadashi is Chitra Deepam and the Tripti Deepam Prakarana. The Chitra Deepam is where Vidyaranya excels in creating a fantastic example of what it is. That is, you take a plain cloth and then it is about a painting. He takes the painting, the chitram, as an example for the universe. You have a white cloth, and on that you put a paste so that the ink can stay there. He's talking about the old method of how we paint in the canvas. And then you do a sketch with just a charcoal or pencil, and then you put colors so that you see the painting. These are the 4 stages of creating a painting. And that he says chit, antaryami, sutratma, and virat. So when we say Ishvara, when we say Brahman, when we say Nirguna Brahma, Samana Brahma, and here you talk about Hiranyagarbha, you talk about Virat, when you go into this prakaranas in the text, there are so many constructs about what the supreme reality itself, even though we say one. Interestingly, one place in the Bhashyam, there is a question about Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman. There is a Purvapaksham. Acharya himself writes, Kim Dve Brahmani? What in your system do you have 2 Brahman? Acharya says, Badham, yes. And then he explains what is Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma. So those are the kind of confusion where someone who is just starting but who doesn't have a proper guidance, or I would say maybe we don't have enough patience. Hey, what is all this? It's all very contradictory paradox. So that kind of thing may turn us away. So here he beautifully explains those 4 important concepts like chit, that is Nirguna Brahma, then Antaryami, then Sutratma, the creator, and the Virat. Sutratma is supposed to be creator of the subtle universe, and from then the manifestation of the gross universe is what we see, and that is what is explained here in this. And the same parallel for the Jiva also, the 4 stages of Jiva. So he is explained, and this is it's like 290 verses in that. So it's a massive prakarana, that, and the next one, Tripti. These are they by themselves or like half of the book, like 600 verses there. In Tripti Deepam, okay, in Chitra Deepam, I would say answers to most of the questions that would arise for a serious aspirant who studies Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita are available in Chitra Deepam. And one of my teacher's teacher had once told, I heard about it, is that if you don't get answer for your questions in Panchadashi, then you're not likely to get it anywhere else. And he meant Chitradeepa Prakarana there. So most of the hypothetical positions of why I keep saying hypothetical position is, other than the Shruti text, there is no so-called proof. So you have to have certain constructs, take it in your mind, and you have to be the experimenter. You have to experiment it, and your experience is the experiment, and you go stage by stage under the guidance of Guru. And finally, you will realize the truth. So till we realize the truth, it is not validated. Not validated because somebody said that, somebody wrote that, it is there in the Upanishad. Yatha sambhavam anubhavadayascha pramanam. That's what Bhashikara says in his Bhashya. So finally, it is all to lead to an ultimate experience. And so some of this, yaya bhavet pumsam, this Vartikikara says, we can give any number of constructs like this. We can say Jiva is like this, Ishvara is like this, we can say Sakshi. And in fact, Vidyaranya goes and explains Jiva Sakshi and Ishvara Sakshi. He brings 2 Sakshis, which is very rare. You can do anything you want as long as the aspirant understands the Advaita Atma. So that is what Vartikikara says. And he has followed the same thing. He quotes Vartikam extensively in these 2. So you have this Chitra Deepa Prakaranam. Then you have this Tripti Deepa Prakaranam. This Deepa is light and or Jnanam here. So the previous one is the Tat. It also is Sat. That is the Sadeva Somyadamagrasi, the Sat, the cause for the universe. Here it is Deepa, Prakasham, enlightenment, Jnanam, And next one is Anandam, Anantam, both are same. So that is also another way of connecting all this 15 chapters. Atmanam chet janiyat. Ayamasmiti Purushaha. Kimichan Kasya Kamaya Shariram Anusanjare. It's a very famous quote in Vidyaranya Upanishad. Atmanam chet vijaniyat ayamasmi. If you realize that this is what I am, this Atma, then kimichan kasyagamaya shariram anusunjare. Kimichan. So what is it you are going to desire? There is nothing beyond the blissful Atma. So kimichan kasyagamaya, what do you want? Shariram anusunjare. So why do you go and how will you go and uh, go into any kind of pain or shariram anusunjare? You punish your body. Means you won't do anything. So that the Atmanubhuti, the Tripti, how it is, the ultimate reality, as we say, Krita Krityata, what is to be achieved, has been achieved. So that is explained in this Tripti Deepa Prakaranam. And this is again, you explain here, he takes this opportunity to explain a very, very important, several Shruti texts, even though he has done this Anubhuti Prakasham. Here he has explained several important texts, Shruti texts, and it will help us in understanding many of the Upanishad passages just by reading this Tripti Deepa Prakaranam. And then comes the very important Kutastha Deepa Prakaranam, where it talks about the immutability of the Atman. So, how other factors could are affecting us now, and what is the true nature, and how we stand beyond this day-to-day affairs. That is the Kutastha Deepa Prakaranam. And then comes the Dhyana Deepa Prakaranam. The popular, or I would say, uh, for those who can take this path of inquiry, this vicharana, and and because any vichara needs some amount of vairagya to start with. Without vairagya, without dispassionate analysis, any analysis is meaningless because it will always be biased. It will always be kind of a self-serving need rather than seeking the truth. When you try to seek the truth, you have to be ready to leave out everything that is not true. So that is why vairagya always is a necessity for Viveka and Vichara. Say we don't have it. So we are not to be shunned. So there, here, this Dhyana Deepa Prakaranam, he gives a allowance for someone who is not so well equipped for all this Vichara, but who is still passionate about this. So what he says, this Prakaranam is, okay, you don't have all the tools necessary, all the mental faculty necessary, still, but you have the faith. So someone who has done, a teacher who has done this, who explains this is how it is, take that in with the faith and keep repeating that or contemplating on that. And that will also, over a period of time, lead to the result. So this is more like a giving allowance for someone who is not fully versed in this vichara mark. That is Dhyana Deepa Prakaranam. And finally comes a very interesting construct, Nataka Deepa Prakaranam. So he brings, he makes a drama stage, and you have the stage, then you have the dancers, and the the person for whom dances perform, and then there are other audience. Now, the performance of dance affects different people differently, including the dancer. But the only thing that is not affected by any of this is the light in the stage. That is a Nataka Deepa. So how Atma is lighting up all this, the dance, the play of the universe, and it is not affected by that. And how we reach that stage, that is explained in Nataka Deepa Prakarana. So by Chitra, Tripti, Kutastha, Dhyana, Nataka, these five Deepas, the five ways of enlightenment. What is explained here is the the jiva, what we call as what we experience as jiva individual, how are we currently affected and how we can still stay not affected if we know the truth. And what is the truth? What is the true nature of each of this? What is true and what is illusory? And how do we relate to this, and how do we come out of this? So in this 5 chapters that is explained. So that is why I say this represents the Tvam portion of the Tattvamasi. So when you say Tattvamasi, Tat is the creator and Tvam is the Jiva. Those two don't, they are not equal anyway. So when you say Tat Tvamasi, what you do is the Chaitanya aspect of the Tat, that is the Ishvara, where the creation of the universe and other Maya and other concepts, they have to be removed. That is a Lakshana, and that's already explained here. And again, in Tvam, we think of as a body, as a jiva, someone born, someone who's going to die, someone who wants to do this, and all those aspects are removed. But the true nature of the chit that is there. So these two chit are not two, there is only one. And that is how the Tattvamasi, the Aikyam comes. So here the Tvam aspect, we call it as Tat Padartha Shodhanam. Shodhanam is purification. The Tat, that's the Tat Padasya Arthaha, Tat Padarthaha, that's the purification of it. Tat Padartha Shodhanam in the first 5, and Tvam Padartha Shodhanam in the next 5. So this is what we have done so far. Then comes the Ananda Prakarana. There is a popular opinion based on the textual evidence that this all the 5 chapters form an independent book, Brahmananda. So this Brahmananda is joined with the other 10 and collated as Panchadashi at later period is one of the view, but it is done by the authors themselves or by the later commentator Ramakrishna, who is a pupil of, is a student of Vidyaranya and the Bharati Tirtha. We don't know that, but traditionally we have this 15 together. But there are references saying that this has already been told in Brahmananda like that. So they don't distinguish like Yogananda, Atmananda, Advaitananda, Vidyananda, and Vishayananda. These are the 5 sub sections in this Brahmananda Prakaranam. And as the name is very clear, the first one is Yogananda Prakaranam. Yoga is used to join. So Atma Vaidimeka Evagra Asid. And then this Brahma with Apnoti Param. So you take those kind of words where the Jiva attains the state of Brahman. Take those phrases and explain this Yoganandam. How you attain that Brahmanandam. What are the methods? Purely based on the 4-5 Shruti Vakyam he is explaining. That is Yogananda Prakaranam, which is pretty long, 130 plus verses there. Then comes the Atmananda Prakaranam. In Atmananda Prakaranam, what is explained is the true nature of Atma, where we don't talk about Maya and Upadhi, everything is removed. And this Satyam Jnanam Anantam, Prajnanam Anandam Brahma. So this that Ananda aspect and how that is the reason for even what we experience, the day-to-day experience, how is that the basis? That is explained in Atmananda Prakaranam. And then this Advaita Ananda Prakaranam, again, this Jiva Brahma, Abheda blissful. So these 3 are pretty much overlapping each other, but there is a good start and end. Interestingly, there is one commentary where one of the commentators has taken the canons of interpretation from Mimamsa. We talk about, in Mimamsa, we talk about Shat with the Tatparya Linga. I will digress a bit for a minute. So when I read a text, what is the purpose? What is the ultimate goal of the text? So now I am talking to you, okay? And the topic given as insights into Panchadashi. So whatever little I know, I try to share with you. But you take a text, something like a scripture, which we don't even know the origin. So what is it trying to say? How do we interpret that? This is the problem Mimamsakas faced in the beginning. So they came out with certain canons of interpretation. And they call it as a Tatparya Lingam. Lingam is Adayalam, what do you call it as Lakshanam kind of thing. It's not Lakshanam. Lingam is indication, and this Tatparya Lingam. So what is the Tatparata? What is Tatparyam? And these are there are 6 lingams, Tatparya lingams are there that tells this is what the subject, the text talks about. One is Upakrama Upasamharayor Ekarupata. The text starts with one concept and ends there. Then you know obviously that is what the text intends to talk about. I start with Panchadashi, end with Panchadashi. Obviously, I'm talking about Panchadashi. If I start with something else and talk about something else, it will be very incoherent. So just start and end, look into it, and then say this is what it is. This is one. Then you have Apurvata. There should be something new. The scripture should say something which is not told elsewhere. Then Arthavara. That is sudden, okay, because of this, you get out of this, because of this, you get this, some kind of a praise or negation, something like that. Then Upapatti, logic. Then Phalam, the Prayojanam should be there. So you have this 6 types of interpretation, the 6 means to interpret what is the purpose of the text. And one of the commentary explains with in each of these 15 chapters, what is the purpose of each of these chapters. So the commentator has done a tremendous job there, and it's very, very interesting read if you are into that kind of intellectual analysis into this. Even if you are not, Panchadashi is an important text to go through, like I told, because you get to know, once you go through all the 15 chapters of Panchadashi, there is not a single concept in Advaita Vedanta on which you are not familiar. So that you can't say that about most of the books here. Then this Vidyananda Prakarana, this Atma Vidya, and what is the Vidya Eva Ananda Vidyananda. So that is explained in Vidyananda Prakarana. And finally, Vishayananda Prakarana, where every happiness, even now, what we enjoy now, is a trickle from the Brahmananda. So this is very oft-quoted thing, and that is also explained here. Because when you say Brahman, and right from beginning we have been saying you need to have sadhana chatushti sampatti viveka vairagya shamadamadi mumukshutvam, and only then you will be able to attain that. But whereas when you talk about the joy, what we experience now, there is not much need. You don't need that much. Okay, you need good food. You listen to good music. You read a good book. You get joy. So you don't need to spend. I mean, you don't need to dedicate so much to get this joy. But if you say this is also from there, how do I relate to that? So is it then? I already, if you say this is Brahmanandam, this is a part of Brahmanandam, okay, I'll keep enjoying this. What is the purpose of aspiring for liberation? So those kind of questions are raised and answered in the Vishayananda Prakarana. So this is a kind of quick outline which I would be able to give in the time given. So if there are any questions, I would like.
Thank you, Giridharanji. Unfortunately, we don't have a Q&A session.
Okay, fine.
But on the Q&A box on the screen, you can see, and if there are anything, you could respond there. Thank you very much for a very wonderful introduction to Panchadashi. The text itself is really a very unique text among all Prakarana Granthas. I could say that, I think. And you have given a very succinct, very beautiful introduction and an overview for this. Thank you very much.
This is something which, if you give me 15 months to talk about, we will be able to talk about with some kind of justice. So, so not 30 minutes, but I hope at least someone is motivated to get the book of Panchadashi and see what it is. Okay, answering that question, okay, the 15 prakaranas I read, Tattva Viveka Panchamahabhuta. So those are the 15 prakaranas here, not to do with Viveka Chudamani, etc.
Thank you again, Giridharaji.